No. Good afternoon and welcome to the European Green Transition PLC investor presentation. Throughout this recorded meeting, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged, can be submitted any time via the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Just click Q&A, scroll to the bottom, type your question and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question received during the meeting itself. However, the company can review all questions submitted today and publish responses where appropriate to do so. Before we begin, we'd like to submit the following poll. I'd now like to hand you over to Cathal Friel, co-founder and director. Good afternoon, sir.
Paul, thank you very much, and thank you everybody for dialing in tonight. I know this is a quick out of the blocks, but basically, as the title says here, we want to talk about an option. Let's say it's solely an option at this point in time, but hopefully it'll be a lot more than an option over a copper tailings recycling project in Cyprus. Aidan will talk us through in more detail. But I think during the IPO, and I know feedback from a lot of investors is that there was an eagerness to make sure we do have some mining assets. Aidan will do a quick update on those. They're up in Sweden. We're probably the most exciting rare earths asset in Europe, let's say Olserum. But I do know our investors during the roadshow made it very clear that we are not a mining company. So today's first significant update post-IPO is very definitely not mining. It's cleaning up the aftermath of mining. That's copper recycling project in Cyprus. As we've all seen in recent weeks, BHP bidding for Anglo. It goes to show you copper is a good place to be. There isn't that many copper tailing projects around, but this one looks interesting. And more importantly, Aidan has some knowledge of it. He had been down, he took some photographs, he did some work on it in 2017, so he can tell us more what he thinks. Why I like it and why I'm excited about it is that this is my fifth IPO. I've defied the odds on every one before. Every time I've done an IPO, we have done something different. I think I was told today, our RNS this morning is the first time people use color pictures on the RNS. Well, hopefully this European Green Transition Company will be quite novel and unique. My only guiding light on every one of them, I'm usually the largest shareholder, I'm usually the last person to sell, and I'm usually the lowest paid in the companies, but I usually have a large stake, and I'm always the last person to sell shares. So my guiding light is, can we double or triple the share price? You, as investors, are not investing in small cap AIM companies to get 5 or 10 or 20% per annum. You can get that in the big caps. You're investing, like I, in small cap to get a double or triple, and that's what we're aiming to do here. So without further ado, let me just bring you through where we're going. So first of all, in case for anybody, I'm sure people are a bit bored, they've seen this before, just a quick recap on where we're from and what we're planning. What we're planning, we see a substantial opportunity to build sustainable and profitable business in European green economy. And this profitable is very important. Our project today could have, if we really wanted, within less than 12 months of exercising option, getting a certain amount of revenue from a water treatment plant and taking out the copper. Aidan will tell you more about that. So this is one of the first projects you'll see we could potentially have revenue in year one. Every other business will be involved in, we have revenue in year one and we're profitable in year two. And that is the mantra I'm determined to stick to in this company. We're only 4 or 5 weeks out, so we're showing something that's potential to have revenue within the first year. We know the green economy's thrown up huge opportunities. We have some green assets as we speak, mainly our Swedish rare earths. And I emphasize that is a mining asset. We will never be mining. We'll bring in the big, heavy guns, the heavy lifting. Our view in small cap companies like us, we find it. And somebody with the skills and everything else helps to develop it. I do have a mantra. I like targeting distressed and undervalued assets. I'm not saying today's asset is distressed or undervalued, but I think it's an attractive value if we decide to exercise option. And we have a track record. Very, very briefly, the three more important is this is my fifth IPO. Cove Energy, I was critical to putting it together day one. That was August 2009. It was on AIM for sub 1 million when Michael Nolan and John Craven got involved and took control of it. I was there helping in the background. I was not the founder, but I was very involved. 33 months later, it was sold for 1.9 billion. That was pretty good. They acquired Artemis out of administration. The one I absolutely led, and I'm very proud of, Amrit Pharma. We IPO'd 2016. It wasn't 100x, but it was a very good 5-6x. And if you take in the 10 million dividend payment that came from the regional Amrit shareholders in the last 6 weeks, it's probably a 7x. So Amrit worked rather well. Again, distressed assets. The one some of you tonight will probably know is Olserum. Again, we IPO'd in 2019 and defied the odds. People say, what are you doing there? Well, we acquired two little companies, Venn for 4 million, hVivo for 13 million, put the two together. And within 2 years, neither had ever made profits in their life before. And within 12 months of acquiring them, we had them EBITDA profitable. And within 24 months, we had them generate significant profits. hVivo, which is just Olserum with the name change today, is a very attractive 200 million plus market cap, very substantial, tens of millions in the bank, 55 odd million revenue last year, growing and paying a dividend. So that's the way we want to go. Oops, gone the wrong way. Oh, let me go back again. I hit the wrong button. Let me bring back to where we go. Okay, look, presenting team. I'm not going to talk about being, this is my 5th IPO, so I'm not going to bore you with who I am or what I am. Aidan, maybe give us a couple of minutes, brief overview on yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Carl. So Aidan Lavelle is my name. I am the CEO. I'm a chartered geologist by background. I've been working in AIM-listed companies for many years now. Started off with a company called Stratex in East Africa, and then was a founder shareholder of Eris Resources. And more importantly, while I was there, we managed a strategic alliance for 4 years in Sweden with Centerra Gold. So I'm very familiar with operating on the ground in Sweden, which is where one of our projects is. And so I've been working with Carl over the last 2 years now, building up the assets in the company, and very excited by the new acquisition that we announced, or the new option for acquisition that we announced today. So we'll talk about that later. So over to you, Carl.
Thanks, Aidan. I'm going the right way. Yeah, I'm going the right way. So look, briefly, our current portfolio. I emphasize at the IPO, I say we'll have some resource ones. We'd have recycling projects. We're going to have an e-waste project. And we might have carbon sink projects at some stage in the future. So this is going to be a busy company. Every previous IPO, the 4, we were going like little Duracell bunnies. And that's the only way, I think, small cap AIM companies, you've got to move very fast. We leave the lumbering and the slumbering to the bigger companies. So portfolio, Aidan will tell you more about the rare earths as this week. We think that could be the first commercial rare earths project in Europe. We will not be doing that. We will bring in the large, well-capitalized companies who do it. Small companies find it. The big companies should develop it. We have copper, graphite in Sweden. That's lower priority. Saxony, critical metal, lower priority. But the real priority we want to keep the session relatively short today. We'll probably wrap it up within the half hour or so, is the Cyprus copper tailings recycling project. We did announce at IPO we would be targeting recycling projects, and this is the first. It's not going to be the last one. Basically, it's the potential to recover meaningful amounts of copper in a capital efficient manner. And like all recycling projects within Europe, there's a number of them. When you rehabilitate and clean up and recycle the product, generally those lands are not for agriculture, just for quite some time in the future. So they make excellent solar facilities. But we're also in a discussions throughout a broad range of other attractive green opportunities, including solar, wind, further rehabilitation, processing, e-waste recycling, and critical minerals. So all we're trying to say that we're going to be busy, interesting, exciting weeks and months ahead with the view of building this company fast. We are not going to blow our cash. The plan is we are not going out to raise more money. We can make a small amount of money go a very long way by using other parties leveraging their balance sheets. On that, an M&A model, how I got into this business. I was a banker for 15 years, buying and selling other people's business. So I learned quite fast how to buy companies. It's a skill. So anybody can buy if you pay too much. We like buying at a very attractive price. So we've identified numerous green economy assets. Some of the more attractive ones are on the balance sheets of lumbering small cap AIM companies going nowhere fast. And we may be looking at acquiring some of those. Our plan is always to acquire for a fraction of the invested capital. Are we doing that here? Not sure. Aidan will be heading to Cyprus. He has been there before to look at it. And we'll make up a good view in the coming weeks ahead. Many of the projects we're looking at, they're good projects, including this one. And this one, we gather, has been unable to raise sufficient cash. EGT's plan is always usually to acquire without management teams, but particularly this one, if there's good teams with it, they can come. Well, we don't take a big lumbering companies with overheads and structures. We usually structure the deals at modest, small upfront payments. You can see what we did today. It's just over 100,000. It's very modest. When you're thinking over a market cap of 17, 18 million. So I think that's 100,000, 125 over 18. That's modest, my books. Some people might say it's not modest, but I think on the overall scheme of things, it's modest. And in future payments, we always put them on milestones on achieving the objectives. We de-risk our projects. We try and keep them cost effective and CapEx to an absolute minimum. For major projects, and that's where the rare earths project, I say small cap companies should find it. The big companies are good. For major, we'll always bring in the large partners. And for instance, where there's solar available, such as in this project, we'll bring in a solar provider who has the solar balance sheets, and we will get an income stream on any future solar projects. So our goal is to build a sustainable and profitable business, and that's our guiding light. Aidan, I might hand over to you, and you might take us briefly through our copper project, and then Aidan's also going to give us a quick update on he was in Sweden in recent weeks and where he got with the Swedish project. Aidan, over to you.
Yep, thank you, Carl. So it's a really interesting time in Europe. The EU has finally passed the European Critical Raw Materials Act, and that was signed into law in the past month. And so that actually mandates that 25% of critical metals in Europe should be sourced from recycling here in Europe. So we feel that it's really good timing to have this coming online now, and it fits perfectly with our Cyprus copper project, which is a recycling project. And we're really excited by not only by this coming into play, but also by the recent uptick in the copper price and the very strong fundamentals for copper, which is an essential commodity for the green energy transition. So I'm going to bring it through the Cyprus project. This is a tailings recycling project. And we have exposure here to near-term revenue from this project. We have signed a 12-month exclusive option agreement with the license holder, and that's over the Limni site. You can see the pictures there of that lovely blue water, which is very much enriched with copper. And that's the site of a former mine, the Limni mine, which was actually the second biggest mine in Cyprus, and it had 8.1 million tons of 1.1% copper. That was mined between 1937 and 1978, so quite a long time ago. And the tailings from that deposit sat on a piece of land beside the coast, oxidizing, exposed to the air. And then in 2010, all of that was trucked back up to backfill the pit at the mine. So what has resulted now is that you get metals in the water circulating in the old pit, and you can clearly see that in the pictures. So we see great potential to actually extract that copper from the existing pit waters, and there is scope to recover meaningful amounts of copper. We will be doing the due diligence on that and looking into that. And so that's why we have signed this option for a year. But not only that, as Colin mentioned, the site has great optionality, so there is potential for other revenue generation there. So I'll just bring you on to the next slide. The optionality for value creation is, well, number one, we have the low-cost hydraulic pumping of waters to directly extract copper, and that is a low-impact solution. It could be rapidly implemented and would also produce cash flow within 12 months of executing the option. So you can see how big the pit is there in that picture. That is the picture of the pit prior to it being infilled, and you can see that almost 8 million tons of tailings have gone back into that, and not only from this mine, but from adjacent deposits that were also mined and processed at the same facility, 2.5 kilometers northwest of where this mine is. So the tailings from Limni and the other deposits actually are back in this pit, and so that's there's a lot of copper sitting in the material there. And then if in addition to the water potential, there's also a more conventional tailings reprocessing option that we will investigate. So we will work with consultants and local stakeholders in the coming months to assess the viability and best route to near-term cash flow with a capital light investment. And we would expect actually to exercise this option much sooner and we probably won't have to wait 12 months. I think in the next 2-3 months we can work rapidly with consultants and see the real potential for this. And then, as you can see in that picture on the bottom there, the nice flat area of the tailings that have been backfilled into the pit, that would make a really good solar site. Cyprus actually has an 80% reliance on fossil fuels at present, but yet it is an excellent location for solar energy, and there's excellent sites around the pit and also on the backfill tailings. So we will look at the potential for solar energy development here, but of course we will be bringing in a partner and discussing with local stakeholders how to build an energy asset that will deliver long-term income, an income stream to European green transition. And so on this map, you can just see how well located Cyprus is. It gets a lot of sunshine. It is an EU country. So from this map, you can see that it is actually one of the EU countries that gets the highest solar irradiance in the EU. So potentially the solar opportunity from these sites is great, and especially when you consider that Cyprus really needs to diversify its energy away from fossil fuels. Okay, so briefly on to what we've been up to on our other projects. So the Olserum rare earth project, one of Europe's leading rare earth projects located in South Sweden. We've done a lot of work there over the past few months, and I'm just going to bring you through that. So we had field work at Olserum and Djupadal, which is a prospect to the northwest, about 2 kilometers from where the historic resource is. That work has been quite very successful, I should say, in mapping of the Djupadal prospect, has outlined a district scale system. We have a very, very large new target area. We've sent a lot of samples to the lab in the past 2 months, and we have results pending. And last month, we announced as well that we had received the drill permit. So we have a very flexible drill permit that lasts for 2 years, that allows us to drill essentially all the targets that we intended to drill. And it will allow us or our partner also to do an infill program on the resource. But of course, we will be talking to partners about that. And also last month, we had the SGU, the Swedish Geological Survey, on site. They have recently commenced a brand new mapping program of this region and just released a very large data set of airborne magnetic and electromagnetic data, which is essentially available for free to us. And that is a really good resource to have to expand out and better understand the mineralization. And also in the last month, we had a very positive community meeting. So you can see there on the lower left image, I presented the plans and the general area that we were working in to locals. We received some very positive feedback there. They're very happy to be informed of where exactly we will be working and what exactly we are doing. And so that's really in line with our strategy to have full and transparent communications with the local stakeholders. And it's been very well received. We're very pleased with how they have accepted and actually really approved of the work and the plans moving forward. So we have a lot of news flow in the pipeline. As I mentioned, we have rock, chip and channel samples from Djupadal. We intend to get them fairly soon. We also have a large composite sample from the Olserum resource at GTK in Finland, and that is a sample we sent a couple of months back, and they've been doing some updated metallurgical results on studies on that, and that will really de-risk the project for incoming partners. And then also we have we plan to commence drilling in August at Olserum and Djupadal. That would lead to news flow in September and October with drilling results. In the meantime, we will be commencing our due diligence on Cyprus, and that too will have news flow. And then, as Carl mentioned, we have ongoing reviews of other opportunities. So we have a strong M&A focus, and we expect to deliver a substantial volume of additional news flow in the coming weeks and months ahead. So I'll hand back now to Carl, and he can summarise the opportunity that is in European green transition.
Aidan, thanks very much. And so this is project tonight was just to give a quick light touch, quick catch up on the RNS this morning. So hopefully that would have filled people in. We've got a bunch of questions, which I'm going to read out now, and some here that have come in. We'll answer them, I'll share them to my statement. But look, in summary, we think there's a huge opportunity what we're doing. We have a proven team. This is my 5th IPO, 4 previous one. Everybody made money from start to finish. And I'm an obsession with that because I'm the largest shareholder. My salary in European Green is 25,000, but I'm by far the largest shareholder. At the IPO up at £300,000 sterling and at 10p. And that I locked that up for 3 years. And all pre-IPO shareholders are locked up, hard locked for 3 years. So it allows you, the real investors who are coming in at the IPO or post-IPO, a chance to make a decent bit of money. We've a range of distressed assets and some not distressed. I'm not calling this one today particularly distressed, but it's a low-cost assets probably way. We have a very flexible financial model. We have a low committed capital spend. I think Aidan highlighted that. We have a drill program open for the next 2 years in Sweden. What kills me about small cap miners, we raised 6.5 million. I think before you look sideways, they've committed and they're back in 18 months. You don't hear from them till the money's gone and please, sir, can you give me more? Our plan is not to spend. We spend a small proportion of the money we raised in Sweden to get a result, and we'll take it from there. Naturally, we're very ESG focused. I have young kids. I'm turning 60 this year. I've got an 11-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 6-year-old. So watch the birthdays give out to me if they hear me. I can't remember. And they're regularly giving me, I would use the word jip, Daddy, what are you doing for the environment? And they're very, we all know the younger generation are hyper-focused on the whole climate change and climate warming and all that good stuff. Though I think we all know this the last week or two in London and in Dublin, it's been pretty Baltic. So climate change hasn't come this far. But look, it's great being involved in the project. I go home and tell my kids, well, kids, look what I'm doing. I'm helping with part of the European green energy transition. So briefly, a couple of quick questions, just looking at ones that have just come in, and then we've got a printout from earlier ones. From James, EGT has a wide permit. Typically, these projects are capital intensive. How do you envisage the structure of bringing out value you see in securing the capital required? Well, this goes back to my banking days as an investment banker for 15 years, but it also goes back having done 4 previous IPOs. I raise money, I contribute to the money when it's raised, and I'm kind of unique. I treat your money, the shareholders' money, as my own money. And I have almost an allergic reaction when people raise money and think, oh, let's go spend it, let's pay ourselves a lot of money, and then let's go and raise more money and say we didn't get the result. So how we envisage, to answer that question, securing the capital. If the solar potential, we will never pay for solar. The world is full of very large utilities who will fund solar facilities. We can provide sites. If Aidan gets lucky this summer not drilling and we get what we hope we get, Olserum, we will bring in the heavy lifting. Is that one of the sovereign wealth funds in the Middle East? Is it a large miner? But we use their balance sheet. The insanity in the past is small mining companies, small juniors of all description, just taking the money and blowing it. So we don't intend. So hopefully, James, your question's answered. We will use other people's. Our job is to move fast, put a number of projects together, get a decent share of the equity in the upside, and protect the downside by using other people's balance sheets. Hopefully that answers that one. Next question, is the agreement for EGT to buy 100% of the project? Absolutely. It's an option. It's not an agreement. This is an option. It's for 12 months. We know some of the partners around it. We've dealt with them in the past. Aidan has been down there under, look again, this is quasi minerals, metals. He was down there under different ownership. We believe the current owners, we can work with them, but our plan would be over the 2, 3, 4 months, decide we're exercising the option or not. If we exercise it, it'll be a modest payment. And the view then, I would be very keen, now this is to go to all the geological people, to agree what's the best plan, but I would be very keen. And the beauty about small cap AM companies is show some revenue within the first year. And go back, I can see that blue water. There's a very large copper content there, and find a low-cost way of harvesting that copper that's oozing out of the site. So, yes, if we exercise, we will have 100% of the project. The former owners will probably get some carried interest in it. What is the total consideration for the potential acquisition? We don't know. That's being honest. It's a kind of suck and see. We don't believe we'll be paying a large consideration. Our Nomad would have been clear. We've given guidance. It's a modest upfront if we exercise the option. I'm optimistic. We will exercise it. That's up for grabs. We need to find out. But there won't be a huge consideration. So, folks, I don't want people worrying, oh, we're all blowing the shareholders' cash. That shareholders' cash is sacrosanct. Your release mentions the current owners see great potential. Why don't the current owners wish to develop the site? I think I alluded that at the start of our conversation tonight, is that when I said a lot of companies can't raise cash. The current owners, I'm sure if they could have raised buckets of cash, they wouldn't be talking to us. We've been lucky. We sold Amrit last year for 1.48 billion. That was a bloody good exit. People made 5-6 times their money. We've a lot of people on here tonight to see some of the names I recognise from hVivo. I IPO'd hVivo at 5.7p. It's trading well over touching 30p. It had been as high as 45p. We have made people money, and that's why we can go back and raise money. So we're of the view we can raise money if necessary, but more importantly, we can use other people's balance sheet. The benefit in the background, you see I'm involved. I'm still very much executive chairman of Poolbeg. That is a trajectory, hopefully, to grow very big. The Amrit team of Boyne over my shoulder there, that's still the old logos of Open Orphan. That is hVivo. I'm in London tomorrow with Mo Khan, our CEO. Mo's literally printing money for us. So to answer your question, why does the current owners not fund it? It's not easy for people to raise money, and we currently have money, and we'll allocate a small proportion. A bit like Aidan is going to. A small proportion of money will go to Olserum. A small proportion of our money will go to this, and we'll bring in the other parties then with the bigger balance sheet. Do you anticipate local opposition to the project? Being honest, we don't know. Aidan made it very clear on his earlier parts that he's been up in Sweden engaging extensively. I think hopefully where we come in is that we are looking at a number of our projects. I think in the past, small cap AIM and some bigger ones went in somewhat with jackboots and said, we've a right to drill, we've a right to do that. We do the opposite. We believe we're guests on these people's lands. We're guests on looking at them. So I think, yes, there's always objections, but we'll work our way through them. A recycling project has the more fundamental interest that technically you may, not saying there is a problem there, but technically maybe you're not coming to make a bigger mess. You're technically to probably improve things that are already there. Why was the mine abandoned? I think very simply the mine was a very large mine. You saw the pictures, huge mine. And it wasn't abandoned. It basically ran out of production. So the waste was processed on the beach. I gather there's a very large EU funding. There was millions of tons transported back up, put into that rather large hole in the ground. So the mine came to the end of its life. We see the potential, yet to be proven, in those copper tailings. BHP see potential in Anglo's copper, so we see potential, and I emphasize this potential. But in the past, I'm not being cocky, we saw potential as a small group of us in a number of different public companies, and so far we've managed to deliver in potential, and that was whether it was Fastnet, if it was Amrit, it was Open Orphan or Poolbeg. We like delivering on where we see potential. Look, finally, we did say we want to try and wrap up around the 30 minutes. And the last question I see here at the moment, how soon will you look to monetize a project or pass to a buyer? Look, we don't really like the word passing to a buyer. That's called quick flips. And that's what we're emphasizing in Sweden. If we're on here tonight telling people we're going to do a quick flip anywhere, that means it's much more difficult. Small cap companies, I think London's the most amazing place in the world to do small cap IPOs, don't have to do quick flips. But what you can do is a rapid monetization and uplift as we reassure the market and build their trust that we're not going to blow their cash in any one project. And as we demonstrate, I think we've got to run very fast to prove we can bring in a funder, a player, an operator for Olserum. The same with this project. Can we bring in a funder? And the job of these small companies such as us is to bring in the big parties. hVivo in London has now 5 of the top 7 pharma companies dealing with them. When I took it over in 2019, big pharma wouldn't touch hVivo. It was all small caps. So we're now using big pharma to fund the rollout of Canary Wharf, 2 floors of Canary Wharf tour. So I think to answer that last question, how do we monetize? There's no quick flip, but anything we're looking at, we see substantial value. And finally, I say to repeat, this is not a mining company. Absolutely not. We do have some mining assets in Sweden that somebody else will help us deliver in their balance sheet. This is proof. Our first post-IPO announcement is a recycling and copper. That's pretty cool and sexy. We are looking at e-waste. and we're looking at carbon sinks and carbon credits. That was all listed as projects in our prospectus in the IPO. So if people would bear with us, let's go. Oh, there's one more. Just another lesson has come in. Are you looking at asset realization versus long-term revenue? I love long-term revenue from assets, and this is the difference of quick flip. So many people come in, shake it all around, think they're really smart, lift a bit of money off the market, and leave the mess for the next person. So we're looking for long-term value, get revenue streams. The people who did this really well as the Canadians, they built up royalty companies. The Canadians would get out fast and early, bring in the big player, and have a carried interest, a long-term interest in the project. So the local community doesn't get worried. Our real money will be the long-term. If it's the mining assets, it'll be revenue streams. If it's recycling, it'll be short-term revenue, and then long-term revenue streams as we potentially roll out solars. Folks, I'm conscious to stick to what we say it'll be a half an hour short, 30-minute presentation. So without further ado, I think we'll wrap it up. As we have more projects, we'll do these very quickie 30 minutes updates. And I think Aidan's looking forward to being down on site and seeing, let's say, where this project goes. So thank you very much.
Fantastic, Kyle. Aidan, thank you indeed for updating investors today. Can I please ask investors not to close the session? It should be automatically redirected to provide your feedback in order the team can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete. I'm sure it would be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of European Green Transition PLC, we'd like to thank you for attending today's presentation. That concludes today's session, and good afternoon to you all.
Paul.